We're probably live right now.
Yeah,
Who knows? I can't see for myself because of this setup. Yep, there we go. We're live.
now we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome. So, today, due to some unforeseen circumstances, we can't do what we were planning to do, which was get into the next leg of the campaign. But if anybody was here tuning in to see us jump into that, that's going to be next week, Wednesday at 7, as normal. For now, we are, for lack of a better word, fucking around.
Yeah. So basically, what this is meant to be is just a simple session where we're going to go over character creation, character design, level ups, things like that. Just to kind of walk through things for any new players, as well as just have some fun ourselves making stuff up.
Yeah. So, for those who aren't aware, at bloodwine.fandom.com, I believe that's it. You're able to find the rules. This is a classless system, so we're just going through bit by bit and making some characters just because it's a thing to do.
Yeah.
And because realistically, this will prove some degree of usefulness to somebody who's trying to make a character at some point.
Yeah.
And to top it off, because nothing is ever perfect when you're live, I just realized there's nowhere where people can actually get the character sheet. So in the interim, if you want to jump onto that Discord for this Twitch channel, we should be able to get that over to you at some point.
That is true. We never posted the character sheet online.
It isn't the worst thing in the world because the character sheet isn't finalized. Like, there are still flaws I have to fix.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where we've been doing this for 2 months and we only just now realized we don't have the character sheet online.
Yeah, it's probably not a good look.
Yeah, that's... Whew.
Well,
us.
It's going to be that kind of night. Woo!
Yep, okay.
Yep.
I have water.
And I have a problem.
Several problems. Alcohol is not one of them.
Yep.
So, what character were you thinking of making?
No clue.
Nice. I was thinking I would remake Cooper.
Ooh, nice.
Because while my next character is definitely going to be my OG Lunk, the Lunk with the Funk, which I don't want to spoil his exact thing. But
is that because you're going to be bringing Lunk back, or is that because Lunk is Trunk?
Lunk is Trunk, but like I want to play Lunk again. Like it's one of those things where like I made him, and he was such a perfect little boy that I absolutely adored it, and I want more.
Well, we should talk about Lunk and who exactly this Lunk character is.
All right, so Lunk was a green Torg. He would be now essentially be the green Torg, wherein in the original system he was a normal Torg, which through the Torgs have gone through many an iteration.
Yeah, it turns out when you're creating like
oops, I forgot that.
Turns out when you're creating a species in game and you decide to include things like, oh, a history of slavery, and oh, they were genetically engineered, you have to do a lot of yikes control.
Yeah.
Big yikes control.
Yes, it is Baldy and Bozo.
It is Baldy and Bozo. We're here.
Wow,
hello,
that is such a great name for us.
I know, it's...
You can't grow hair now, and...
Well, that's okay, I could never grow hair.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, well, I have a degree, but I'm still Bozo, right? Like, I got the name Bozo while I have a degree. There is no way to prove that I am no longer Bozo.
Yeah, it's a difficult call.
Yeah. But yeah, Lunk was a green Torg that was meant to be a frontline defensive fighter, because talking to Will, he had already had a group going, and what he told me was, we don't have a tank. Yes, Soldier, you can't grow any hair.
It's okay. My skull looks better than any haircut I've ever had in my entire life, so it's not the worst thing in the world.
He's not wrong. I've seen him in high school. High school is when you should have like either your worst haircut or your best haircut.
The thing is, my high school cringe I cling to because, like, realistically, that makes for good stories.
Oh,
you know what
yeah.
doesn't make for good stories? Being normal.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Yeah, being normal is definitely boring, 100%.
But yeah, like from a playtest standpoint, I was happy to see Lunk because this was early enough in the system where it's like, I need someone who's going to break my mechanics a little.
And Lunk broke some mechanics.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. At one point, the Lunk's final moments, when I had decided that, Lunk has kind of done enough and I wanted to bring about a new character, he literally charged down a hallway of 12 people.
And took all the attacks.
Took
all of them.
Every single one of the attacks. Even a build that was identical to his own, or like incredibly similar. He took no damage.
Yeah, it was one of those moments of like, huh, this is cool, but also a major flaw.
Yeah. So like, it was a great moment for him because he fucking wrecked house. He was insane. But at the same time, holy shit, was he ever broken. But I'm not going to be building Lunk today. Lunk was a beautiful boy with a shit ton of armor and a shit ton of health and a shit ton of protection and a shit ton of attack. But I'm not going to be building him today because, for spoilers, there is a character that is incredibly similar to his build, and I don't want to steal that thunder.
It's Trunk.
Yes.
Which I say as if that means anything to anyone at this point.
Yes. No, Trunk is a Lunk that will be Lunk in the future.
It's like, so we went through these iterations of characters, right? Where there was Lunk 1.0, who was Lunk, who was all just like beef build. And the thing is, we were leveling up, so eventually the beef maxed out, so he just had to sort of get well-rounded, and eventually he started doing better than like the de-optimized characters that like checks, just because like eventually you have to put your points somewhere else. Which led to Lunk 2.0, which was Lunkle, who was like beef and intelligence.
Yeah,
he was beefy nerd.
He was also fantastic. Simply because it was at the time where Torgs had a big oof mechanic where they could be commanded to do something and they had to make a check. If someone commanded them to do something, they had to make a check to see if they did it. And if it was something as simple as go chop down that tree, they would have to do the check and then see if they did it. If it was something like kill other player character, they couldn't do it. A normal Torg wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Lunkle was a champion Torg, which means that he had been bred from a very early age to kill. And so one of his things, his main drawback of a gladiator Torg was that if he was commanded to kill a player character and he failed his check so miserably, he would go into a rage and essentially DM takes over and fights the PC.
Yeah. So,
and luckily that mechanic was never actually used. No one in our party ever gave me an order ever. No one outside ever gave me an order ever. It was just one of those things of just like, this drawback is going to sit in the corner and we're not going to mention it.
And you win 1 Bloodwine point if you noticed why we had to take that out for yikes reasons.
It's... Oh, man. Like, mechanically, it introduces a lot of yikes factors. Simply because... Yikes, there are some crazy fucking people out there that would abuse the shit out of that. The tabletop community is fantastic, except for those who aren't.
It's good till it's not.
Yeah, it's good till it's not, and then it's really fucking bad. But there are also
there's the people who give us our stereotypes.
Yeah, there are people that definitely give out the stereotypes. But it was also bad in terms of a world building mechanic because it implied a lot of yikes things about the Torgs that not everyone at the table was comfortable with.
Yeah.
And if not everyone at the table is comfortable with a basic race, you should probably tweak it just a little bit.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
Like you look at like 5th edition characters and it's like they're elves, they live for a long time. They're orcs, they punch things. You know, they're halflings, they're the joke.
It's not like, you know, Tolkien version where the elves were the Aryan master race and the orcs were secretly people of color. We don't talk about Tolkien. We don't talk about the implications of Tolkien.
Yeah, Tolkien gave us a lot, but there's a lot that we just don't want to talk about. We take the good parts of history.
Speaking of not having a segue, we should probably get into this.
Yeah, so the character that I'm making was in between Lunk and Lunkle, because I wanted a break from the big beef, and I thought, hey, why not make a Ninja Turtle?
Straight up.
Straight up, that was my only goal. I wanted to make a Ninja Turtle. And I succeeded. I made Donatello. Cooper was smart, and she had a bow staff.
And did machines.
And, yep, Cooper was fantastic. And also, yes, Cam, we are a bunch of nerds. And so yeah, it worked out really well. Cooper was a fantastic character, and
like, especially transitioning from previously a character like Cooper had like an accent and a voice and was talkative and we engaged with the party, whereas Lunk would emerge from nearby shrubbery at the start of an adventure, and everyone would just acknowledge that as how Lunk shows up in your life. He's gone, then he shows up again, and then you're adventuring.
It was literally at the point in time when I was super busy. Like Lunk was when I was super busy with university, and just couldn't attend every session. And so the joke was just, I emerge, and I am there for that session. And then afterwards, I literally walk into the sea, only to emerge again the next session. Like, it's just one of those things where Lunk came out of nowhere. Cooper was actually me getting more comfortable in terms of roleplay. I had played a couple of times, once with you, once with another group, once with, like, a third group. None of which really doing accents or really building a character all that much.
Yeah, like, I'll be the first to admit that I GM a little bit extra sometimes. The chat has not seen my extra. Everybody who has seen these videos so far, seen the series, has not seen my extra. It's powerful.
Yeah, it is a super convenient way to appear and disappear. He just wandered off and wandered back, and it worked out phenomenally.
One thing to note, I had, at the time I had, because it was all over Discord, it's still over Discord, but I had like an in-game chat where, because people, everyone was in uni at the time, so nobody had time, so eventually you're just kind of like, I'm going to engage in RP and like get some degree of enjoyment during my 15 minutes I have to like type on a keyboard on Discord.
Yeah.
And so I would have events where like NPCs would show up, and I think I introduced an NPC, and I was doing like sounds in the noise as the party's sounds in the woods as the party's traveling and they're moving along, and then as they go to investigate, without saying anything, it was supposed to be an NPC, but you showed up and it made perfect sense.
Yeah, Lunk was phenomenal for the characters that don't really want to do a whole lot of RP. They just want to goof off, and it's one of those things, if you have a DM that is cool with goofing and all of that other stuff, it works phenomenally.
I'm down to goof.
And so yeah, like Lunk had that, and then I wanted more serious. I wanted to like fully dive into the RP a little bit. And so that's when I introduced Cooper, the sort of like awkward Southern belle. I don't know why I decided this. And I had this entire thing going in that I was like, she's Southern. Alright, I can work with that. I can sort of do a Southern accent. Like, I can do a like KFC Colonel type accent.
That's who I should make. I should make Duke.
Yep, that's why I chose the Southern Belle, right. At the time, our group was traveling with a another Tortugan, who was a druid and was basically high all the time. He was absolutely fantastic.
That was such a good campaign.
That was such a good campaign. That was so good.
It went from like goofy fun times to like suddenly a goat died, and then it became a Tarantino revenge quest. And it ended on the darkest note.
It was something. It was definitely something. So yeah, Duke was a southern druid who is a druid who is just high all the time. And I wanted to make a character that sort of matched that. You know, I was making a Ninja Turtle, and I was like, I'm making another Tortugan. Let's do something that matches the aesthetic, the history, and it's a character that wanted to be a druid. But, like, has no magical prowess at that point. Like, at that point in time, it was literally optional to put points into magic. And none of my characters ever put points into magic.
Yeah, as of now, it's sort of assumed that you have some sort of default ability, but at the time, you sort of started with like 1 point in your physical, 1 point in your mental, 1 point in your social, and then 0 in your magical. And if you had 0, it was basically the equivalent of having like a magical disability. It was just like, you do not interact with the magical world at all. You can't perceive it. It's just that it isn't something that necessarily is the same tier as like other things like physical and mental and social disabilities, where like you could still go around life fine. It's just that if ghosts showed up and magic got weird, you'd have no clue.
Yeah, you'd have no clue what the hell is going on. Your entire party is freaking out, which I think did happen at one point.
Yeah.
The entire party is freaking out, and you're just like, what? Which...
It's really funny when it's half the party, too, because then you have basically half the party going, guys, holy fuck, would you help? And the other party's going, help what?
What are we doing? What is happening? Yeah, so... Also at the time, I was considering playing... I had just scrolled through the benefits and drawbacks, and I saw a Drunken Master benefit. And I thought, what better thing to do than to make a drunk monk that is female Donatello? Like, it was a rabbit hole to go down. And so, like, the drunken benefit was you get extra damage and protection depending on your level of intoxication. And I basically upped my character to have an insane threshold for intoxication, and then also took skill so that I could brew my own alcohol. So I was literally a brewmaster monk.
Yeah. Which was also, didn't you have like a tiny little barrel at the end of your...
Yes.
Yeah.
That was something you allowed me to have, was a tiny barrel at the end of my staff.
And then it was an exotic weapon. You could like pull people.
It worked really fucking well. The main thing I'm going to miss about Cooper that is not in here
is a broken ass fucking mechanic.
Was a mechanic where before your weapon abilities could be used on a cooldown, but there wasn't really a prerequisite to take them, and you could also just spam them. And one such ability was stun.
Which is fun when you have one boss.
Yeah. Who gets
just
one
bap,
attack.
Whack, 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 whack. Bap, whack, 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 whack.
So the drawback to stun was you had to roll, I want to say, like 3 5s in a row or something like that.
Yeah,
you made like a weapon attack and you had to roll 3 5s in a row. And if you roll 3 5s, then the person is stunned.
And so the way it used to work, now the way we have it is you have your like ability score, which is just a flat bonus to your rolls. So if you have physical 5, you have +5. And then if you have weapon up to expert, you have up to 4d6 that you're rolling.
Yeah.
Before, the ability score used to be a number of d6.
Yep.
Which, let me tell you, is real fun when you stack all of your benefits and you're like, yes, finally, the exact moment where I can stack all these abilities, and you just throw like 20 dice That's satisfying. What's not satisfying is doing that just like by default.
Yeah. You do that by default. Every attack is you going, hang on a sec, guys.
Oh, that's so The thing that kills me is that's actually a reasonable number of dice.
Yeah, like this, we're joking, but this was a reasonable number of dice to have rolled in the original system. And I just want to point out, I rolled really fucking well on this one.
Yeah, you rolled really good on your nothing check.
Yeah. It's a shame I can't roll that well all the time. But, so something like that was like, okay, I need 4 6s to stun a person. Alright, there's my 4 6s.
Yep.
But stun I could use as many times as I wanted. There was no limit to how many times I could use stun in a fight. So what I would do is in a boss fight, we had a massive fucking boss fight. It took us ages to get through this puzzle, and like we were trying to figure out everything. It was fucking fantastic. That was a great session.
Which one was this?
That was the one where they were like shifting puzzles and we had to go through specific doors.
Oh yeah,
and
Mr.
there was,
Nobody.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so much fun to run.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to tangent to just describe this because oh my god, this is like my beautiful dungeon moment. So, Mr. Nobody, the idea for this whole campaign was that this Duke guy was, he was from a grove where their ancestral herb, because it's sort of like the Rasta sort of thing where it's like, they basically grow weed. It's like, they called it swamp grass, but it's weed, but it has a deep, like, cultural, religious significance for them, right? And there's a bunch of crime lords who, while this guy was like 10, like, made a deal with the village. They were going, yeah, like, this is really good, like, this is some quality shit. So they would go, yeah, we're going to give you supplies and take everything you don't need. Does that work? And they're like, yeah, sure. So there's a deal going for a long time. Eventually, the deal goes south because they find out how to replant the plant, because otherwise it wasn't able to survive outside of the henge. At this point, there's a thing that Tortuga go through when they become druids, which is called approving, where usually when you're like concerningly young but still old enough to do it, you spend 9 days out in the wilds and just try to survive. You walk in literally with nothing but like a pipe and a grinder, and that's it, and you have to survive.
Cooper survived,
yeah,
purely on her physical prowess alone.
And then like traditionally what you would do is if you're a druid, you learn in that moment to ask the trees and animals for help and understand that exchange. And it's this moment where you learn that like even when you're alone, you still have the nature around you with you because you're part of it, right?
Cooper was more of just like, I am smart and figured out how to do this.
Exactly. So when you're not traditionalist, it's more that idea, right? Where it's like you forage for herbs, you like kill things for meat, right? So after Duke's proving, he's weak, he's not able to fight back, and that's when the drug lords come back and basically go, we're taking everything, period. And the village goes no, and they decide to resist, and they're slaughtered. So at this point, it's been years and years and years when the party meets Duke, and what they're doing is they're going around. They're just traveling. Yeah. Duke's just a dude, and he's a traveling merchant, so it doesn't really matter where he goes. He's a master glassblower, so he basically can just sell stuff wherever he goes. So that's his whole life. He just travels. And eventually he trusts the party enough and he goes, guys, listen, now that I trust you, there's something I want to ask you. And he explains there's these 5 drug lords that he's been tracking down, and alone he could never take them. But with this party, now that he's seen them fight, now that he trusts them to go along with him, he's ready to make a stand and take down these people that destroyed everything he knew when he was growing up.
Yep.
And one of them was Mr. Nobody.
Yep. So we were going through this great puzzle room where we had to go through specific doors in order to advance through the puzzle. Mm-hmm. And there were numbers on the door, and there was like a weird mist clouding our gaze, and like he would message us all privately to tell us what number we see, and then we had to go through a series of doors, and it was great because my character kept going, it's that door, and then someone else would run through another door, and I'd just be like, okay, it's not that door. But for the most part, it was just like, what do I see? I see the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the whole idea behind Mr. Nobody was that he was someone who got too powerful in a sense, and he let it take him over. He was a spy master who like dabbled with dark magic, and it turned him into a monstrosity. And he's like massively intelligent, insanely magically powerful, but he basically needs these dungeons to live. They're his defense mechanism. He sits there with a bunch of attendants in the middle of this chamber, in the middle of everything, and controls the like trap dungeon to make sure people don't bother him. He's a spy master. He's on strict, like, people aren't supposed to know he exists. That's the reason he's called Mr. Nobody. So the first time, which is either the session before or the session before that, they go through an abandoned one where some of the traps are still armed. So they're just solving the puzzles and going room to room. When they get to Mr. Nobody's dungeon, Mr. Nobody realizes they're getting through too easy, so he starts just toying with them, like flicking the lights off
like
and triggering traps and like
absolute dick. And I loved the final room in our adventure. We were solving it. It goes dark and we can't see the numbers, and then everyone at the table's like, "What are we gonna do? We can't see the numbers." And then someone at the table is just like, "Does anyone have a torch?" And we're all just like, "Oh." Someone pulls out a torch, lights it up. Yeah, it's that room. Okay. It's just one of those great D&D moments.
Yeah. But it was so much fun from a GM standpoint, because the first time you're doing the dry run where it's people just going with the default like armed dungeon that's just autonomous. It's not thinking, there's no one behind the wheel, it's just what's set up. So they have a chance to basically scout the entire dungeon and then do it again while someone's actively like cackling behind a keyboard and like triggering like poison darts and flamethrowers and shit, right? And on that note, who needs a segue? We should probably actually do this.
That's true. So, yeah. My main thing was I wanted to describe how I dicked over your boss fight.
Yep.
Because he had been setting up Mr. Nobody for ages, and then I used stun. Every single round, I blew all of my off turns until I actually landed a hit. And the downside to stun was if it didn't hit, you did no damage. But I didn't care. It wasn't about dealing damage.
It was about the status effect, and then everyone else dealt the damage.
Yeah. So every single round, Mr. Nobody had one attack, and he would prep that attack, and then I will blap him.
And then he would just stun, hit, prep, stun, hit, prep.
And it just went, and thank God for that, because we wouldn't have lived otherwise. We lost our main damage dealer first round before I could stun him. And so that was that fight. Yes, we should definitely build characters now, actually.
Yeah. So now I guess we have a vague knowledge of who it is we're building. We're building Cooper and Duke.
Cooper and Duke, yep. So I'm gonna write that down.
As am I. His full name was Duke
Crawdad.
Crawdad.
That's where we get the Crawdad Swampgrass. Available in the equipment sheet.
Is it still? I can't remember if I put the drugs back in.
I want to say Swampgrass is still in there. Swampgrass is OG though.
Yeah.
Like I would be surprised if you took it out. Like you did take out like Brewmaster and alcohol. Well, alcohol is still alcohol, but like there's no Brewmaster anymore, and it makes me sad. It was
is that someone from the community of people who enjoy the game I wrote who is making a request for some content? Is that what's happening?
Yes, I want Brewmaster back in, rebalanced.
Noted.
Because like every system needs its meme benefits, and like Brewmaster was 100%. Like 5th edition has improvised weaponry, wherein you're in a bar fight, you grab a table and you chuck it at someone. Yeah.
Which I love from a design standpoint, because it's actually like the Tavern Brawler feat, I think is what it's called, is perfectly balanced in 5th ed, because it's basically just going, no, you have a weapon. No, even if you're disarmed, you just have one.
Yeah.
Because anything is one.
You found a sturdy stick on the ground? Congrats, it's now a club. You can just go to town with that. But yeah, meme builds are great.
Yeah,
so
meme builds.
I'm gonna go for the Drunken Brawler. Even if there is no benefit, there might be Might be one coming down the pipeline now.
So I don't know how well people can see stuff, but we have written down our names. So I am Duke Crawdad, your Cooper.
Yep.
And there's a self-descriptor section, which is basically the closest you get to a class in a classless system. So I am a stoner druid.
Yeah. It's basically, what do you think your character is? I can grab Salus's right now and do that as a comparison. Not Vesta's. That's also Vesta's. That's Leland H7. So we have... There we go. Salisbury, his self-descriptor is Assassin Death Touch. Because upon creation, I wanted to make him an assassin, and I wanted him to basically just go... and the person just falls over.
Yeah.
Which should be next session, actually.
Yeah. Oh, right, because you're getting the surgical strike thing, right?
Yep. So
was it surgical strike or was it something else?
Surgical strike, and I have another benefit because that's our sixth session.
Yeah. Ooh, so you'll be relative level +2.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I haven't decided what my second thing is, but surgical strike definitely, probably elemental affinity.
Well, you could also just pump up your stats when they're in doubt.
Yeah.
Plus,
but, like...
I kind of like that in terms of, like, because I use it to build the NPCs, I kind of like the ability scores where, like, you can almost use them as a bank, where, like, if you need to take a shitty thing when you're leveling up, you can kind of just go,
yeah,
fuck it. And then if you don't know what to get while leveling up, you just kind of go, I'm going to put something in the bank here.
Yeah, pretty much. You can just kind of go, I'm going to put something, I'll put it into physical and I'll take a reduction to my social. It's like, you're going to reduce your social anyway. At least you get a session where you have an extra +1 to any physical rolls. But yeah. So, next section for character creation. The species.
Yes. So, unlike other systems, we don't do, like, a race per se, we do species and people. So, whereas your species is a physiological thing, like, if you're a Tortuga, you're a turtle person. There's no other way to put that. Turtle person. Whereas, if you have a people, that can be a number of different things.
Yeah. You can be a person of Westeron, you can be a random Westeron that was born in the Craglands, but your people is the Craglands at that point. You are species... Westeron, people, Craglands.
Yeah. Or like if you're like your parents are from across the continent and they had to like immigrate for whatever reason, but you grew up sort of learning their cultural mores and that sort of thing, like you could take their people and just say that's how I grew up.
Yeah.
So on that note, we got our species here, and we're looking at our Tortuga. They're a hulking, turtle-like beast folk standing about 2.25 meters tall. They have stubby tails and thick shells. They are fully amphibious, meaning they can breathe fresh water and brackish water, but not like seawater or brine.
Yeah. We like swamps. We very much like swamps.
So then if we click into that, we should be able to see the other things we get. When you're picking your species, you are able to pick up usually one or more benefits and drawbacks. So for example here, you are able to pick up 2 benefits when you are a Tortuga, which are amphibious, it's what it sounds like, and thick shell. And then as drawbacks, you're slow, and there's a drawback called Hulk, meaning that you can't ride a horse or smaller sized mount, and you require double food every day.
Right. Oh man, double food, that's expensive. But I mean, like, yeah.
So then if we go in here to our benefits, I'm going to write down amphibious.
And unfortunately, no soft-shelled turtles. It doesn't seem more viable on land to be a soft-shelled turtle, because you would still have the same reduction in speed, but you wouldn't gain the mobility that soft-shelled turtles gain in water. So it doesn't really seem like they would survive on land.
Not so much. So one thing that's nice about the thick shell benefit that you get from being a Tortuga is, in addition to a +3 threshold, so for those who aren't familiar, the threshold mechanic is basically, if someone's rolling damage, you always have a threshold. If you're using your off turns to defend, you have your threshold as a flat bonus to all those defenses. And it's basically a number that says if you take less or equal damage to this, you just don't take it. If you take more, you take the full damage, just yes or no, Boolean type of value. So with the thick shell, you have +3, and in addition to that, You can use your shell as a shield with threshold 3 if you are like trained or higher in the weapon skill.
It's very good. So essentially, at that point, I would be using, say, a staff, and I would count as a threshold 3 shield as well as the staff.
Exactly.
While having both my hands free, which is very nice. Does that also count for units?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So what that means is essentially, as long as there's another person standing next to you, you will always form a unit. Like, no matter, well, I guess they could take the lone wolf thing. You could screw it up with drawbacks, but you are essentially the wall that everyone wants to be around. Because you are a beautiful turtle. But what happens if I were to then equip another shield? Is that additional protection on top of that?
It's additional protection, but you can only technically like use one shield at once.
True.
But for example, for those who've been following the campaign, Elbjorn has the Shield Master benefit, which hasn't come up much. Oh no, now it used to be called Shield Master, now it's Sentinel.
Right.
But as long as he's holding a shield, he can make an attack and push with +3. So basically, if you're a Tortuga and you're trained at high or higher with a skill, even without holding a shield, if you're fighting there with a greatsword, you could just turn around and back into the enemy and use that, like, using your Shield Master benefit.
I mean, it seems like a worthy benefit to take, simply because, let's say Duke and Cooper are both in the same thing. If we flank an enemy and then both shield bash, we are essentially doing a Ninja Turtles attack. Like, 100%, we are just going cowabunga, dude, boop.
It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Alright, so I've got Slow, I've got Hulk. And I think that's all I got.
I like the random shit that I write down that is technically correct, but not enough detail to actually be correct.
Absolutely.
Like, shell is shield.
Yeah.
Technically correct, but there's a lot of other stuff that involves with it. I'm just planning on having a high weapon stat, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, that's the thing that's, like, frustrating from a game design standpoint for a tabletop RPG, is because, like, for rules, I need to say exact everything, but I really want to just say thick shell. Shell is shield.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. But alright. So, while you're filling that out, we're also able to take a look at peoples.
Right. I had peoples, didn't I? Nope, I did not have peoples.
We'll have to hijack a tab.
And peoples.
Here we go.
Boop. There we go. Okay. So, now we got that going. And yeah, you can describe the levels if you want while I finish writing out.
Yeah, so generally the way that being, like, choosing a people works is that there isn't anything mechanical that comes with it. It's just very much like a bit of base world lore. And in addition, there's a lot of ways that you can be a part of a people. You could be just, hi, my name's Jeff the Elf. I'm from Westwatch. I'm a provincial. I was born here, my parents were provincials, their parents were provincials. That's pretty clean cut.
Yeah.
But likewise, instead of just being native born, you could be diaspora, right? Where you've been scattered for whatever reason throughout space, but there's still parts that you bring with you. You could be an immigrant where there's a certain amount of, like, cultural baggage that you bring with you that's still a big part of your life, even though you're immersed in a different people. Or it could be just a formative experience. You've long since left behind these people, but it's still kind of something that you identify with on a core level.
Yeah. So, if we were to say come from a swamp land, where would we be from? Where would you say?
Well, in that case, we'd be looking for the henge folk, because the groves are in the trees, whereas
the grove folk.
The groves are the great forest, but the henge folk are the swamps.
I saw it at some point.
Just go to Imperial Coast Peoples, number 4, and then it's right underneath.
Ah, there it is.
Here we go.
Alright, so yeah. So the henge folk, the wild swamps, beasts, and monsters encircle hostile patches of swamp. I have the camera in my way, so it's very hard to read this. Unless a ferrying druid grants passage. From there, pole-driven rafts float through the henges of the swamp druids, where stone monoliths mark out underwater homes and garden patches. The plinths elevate the homes, businesses, and taverns of hengefolk villages. Visitors will enjoy seafood,
such as crawdads,
fresh, brackish, and seaside. Come visit hengefolk today. Alongside a great variety of ancestral breed greens and many intoxicant specialties.
I'm not gonna lie, there's an episode of, I think it's Chef's Table, and there's one where they do a whole episode about this dude who's doing like revivalist, like, the best way to say it is like ancestral Southern cooking. Like, it's not just going Popeyes, Louisiana, fast. We're not sponsored. Give us money, please. Popeyes. Give us money, Popeyes.
Popeyes.
We have so many subscribers. Clearly, give us money. But yeah, I was watching this whole thing, and it's this like whole episode where it's talking about like, you know, like the beans that you would grow on your farm that like only you had, because they're all these like heritage things, and like, oh, such a good episode. And I might have watched that right before watching this, which is why there's a whole thing about like ancestral breed greens. But chief among the intoxicant specialties of the hengefolk is swampgrass.
Weed.
Yeah, the calming intoxicant that binds the henge together. So each henge has its own herb strain. And so what people call weed in the world is not that. It's sort of like offshoots. Typically, actual proper swamp grass is part of the same overarching root system as the sort of core tree in the middle of the henge.
And crawdad swampgrass was considered to be the dankest.
Yeah, there was the only reason that he was able to travel alone was because he was smoking constantly, and one of the things about that specific strain was that it additionally like empowered all the guards and wards around you. So he just like hung around and played banjo and had a good time.
Oh, it was great. Whenever Duke came, Will would just be like, you hear a sound, and then he would just walk away, and then he would walk back slowly, playing his fucking banjo, and we'd just be like, Duke!
The downside of running game here instead of at my place, the upside is that it's not fucking boiling. But the downside is that I don't have like 6 string instruments right off screen.
Yeah. We had a auditory response to Duke. As soon as we heard the banjo, we're like, it's Duke, everybody! This is great!
It's
First came the sound, then came the sight, then came the smell.
The thing that I love is that like there's this idea where it's like if you want people to mind to a character, make them funny, but for some reason making an NPC wholesome seems to work.
Yeah.
Granted, then they discovered he wasn't wholesome.
Yeah, no, like he had a darker side, but like it was the same with Corvo.
Mm-hmm.
We fell in love with Corvo because it was just an NPC with a weird quirk that was just wholesome. Like, wasn't a fucking psychopath, wasn't trying to, like, wasn't encouraging our murder hobo side. Mm-hmm. It was just an NPC, and he wasn't, like, babysitting us either. It was just a wholesome NPC that just went, alright. Corvo. Good old Corvo.
Do you feel like I should bring him back? He's still alive.
I don't know. I don't want to force that. Because I know Gabe is going to be super excited about Corvo. He loved Corvo. So I don't want to shoehorn in Corvo. Because then Leland is just going to have a buddy that he hangs on to because that's just Gabe. Gabe is going to want to hang on to Corvo.
And, like, on the one hand, like, yeah, but on the other hand, the thing is, so Corvo, as, like, an NPC, what he did was, there's a whole thing called the Rookery Network, which is, it goes all the way through the Sixth Kingdom, and it's the best thing you have to mail, effectively. Turns out, when the roads are full of monsters, sending couriers and mail trucks, not so good.
Yeah.
So birds are the way to go. And what Corvo would do is he had this giant wagon that was just all cages, and he would just round up lost birds and like wandering birds or like birds he had trained and just make sure the rookeries were all good. If they had extra birds, he would help like adapt them to go free again. He would just go around and like hang around with birds and bird.
He was Birdman with bird peeps. Mm-hmm. He was great. Oh man. But yeah. We got off topic on that one.
So now we have our people.
Yeah, so now we have our people. People being the henge folk.
So then our relative level is 0 because we just started, and everything else we'll put off for now.
Yeah, your death roll is also 0.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the start. My speed is 6'2" because both our speeds are 6'2". Yeah. We haven't chose armor yet, so that's the way it's going to be.
Also, I'm pretty sure neither of the PCs would wear armor, really. Well, Duke wouldn't.
I think Cooper wore, like, chain, but I could be wrong. I kind of want to double check that shit. Birdman.
Birdman.
Bird.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yes.
For now. So the next thing on our list is...
Our base threshold would be 3. We don't have a shield right now, or points in the weapon.
No. So then, if we go down, the next thing we want to do is pick our ability scores. These are our physical, mental, social, and magical. In any order, you allot to them +1, +2, +3, and +4.
Yeah. And so for Cooper, one of the things for Cooper was physical and then mental, because actually, was it mental? I think mental was actually at a 2. I think it was actually social because I went for negotiation on that one. Because the idea behind Cooper was she was essentially following Duke's like system, in the sense that she idolized Duke. That was her entire thing. It was actually kind of hilarious because that was like a soft intro to David, basically, of having a character that is like interested in an NPC, but like Cooper was 100% not about to like be like, hey Duke, let's bang. It was just kind of like, oh Duke senpai, please notice me.
I feel like David is also a really good example of like the Bard danger thing, where it's like if you flirt with enough NPCs, it's one thing if your GM tells you to stop, it's another one if your GM roleplays being a shitty girlfriend for the rest of the campaign.
Like it's
emotionally neglectful, distant.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience in terms of roleplay. Yeah. Because it would have been one thing for most of the time David was just kind of like going around banging, that was about it. But when Yella got introduced as a regular NPC, everything was off the fucking table at that point. And it was just one of those things of just like, alright, so we have this. And I feel like it goes into like an RPG horror story, but it actually worked out really well.
Yeah, like, it's one of those examples of like, sometimes you need to clearly establish boundaries and guidelines so that it can be actually a dope experience instead of being gross.
Yeah. So, like, basically, and Will asked me if I was okay with having a shitty girlfriend in character, and I was just like, yeah, no, this is good.
Yep.
So for David, it was just kind of like, we would go through, and he would seduce the crap out of everyone. He had high-ass social, he had performance and negotiation, and, like, insight out the ass.
It was also before we made it so that Trash Talk needed another attack to go through, so he would just like insult people to death.
Yeah, our very first session, Will was having a hell of a time because I was dealing insane amounts of damage simply by like looking at enemies and like going, your mom sucks, and he would just be like, So I think like one guy was trying to chuck a potion at us and I threw him off kilter and he just like threw it at the roof and it showered down on him, or like some shit like that. Like there was just a whole bunch of stuff where I was throwing people off their game.
Yeah, you throw people off their game and they get wrecked.
Yeah, it was fantastic. David was so much fun to play. Would
Speaking
recommend.
of a social focus, perhaps we should focus on these ability
That's
scores.
true. So, yes.
Because this is also a very short decision to make.
Yes, it is an incredibly short decision to make. It is. I'm going 4 physical, 2 mental, 3 social, 1 magical. Cooper is still not magical, but still really admires the druids that actually can do magic.
See, this is an interesting one because of the system switch, like compared to when I ran Duke before, in an older playtest edition, I can actually build him. I can't build him quite the same. So I gave him magical 4 because he's a druid, social 3 because realistically it wasn't just a role play. He was supposed to be at least an amiable dude.
Yeah.
Mental's 1 because it's he's just not like that. That's not the sort of things he does.
He is a southern boy in every fucking sense. He's not formally educated or anything like that. It's pretty much the same with Cooper. Cooper has a little bit more knowledge, but that's about it.
Yeah. And then I gave him physical 2 because I want to pump into craft glass blowing because that's what he did to make money.
Right. I'm mainly going physical for what took over for acrobatics?
Grace.
Yeah, so mainly pumping in for weapon, grace, and craft. Craft being alcohol. What did I make before? I was making whiskey before, I think, I
think so.
Yeah, I think that's what we decided on. That was just I'm making whiskey.
Then again, that was, in hindsight, that was not a good GM move. I was being of course you need to, have it sit in your stills and have it turn around.
That was so infuriating.
It was not a good move.
It was so infuriating simply because, I could make this stuff way faster than it would, take to produce. So I had just kegs and kegs and kegs. And the entire time I was just okay, I'll sell off this entire keg. Because, once it matures, it'll be great. But I got another thing that I'm about to tap.
It's a good example of realism can be good to enhance something. Sometimes you got to draw a line. Of course, it's going to take realistically, it's going to take ages to make whiskey, but we're playing an RPG.
Yeah. So there were a lot of times where we would be traveling, and not gonna lie, there were moments where we had to travel, and it was point A or point B. Point A is a little bit closer. I'm we're going to point B.
Kill more time.
Kill more time. It was just kill more time. All right, mark that date off. Cool.
Well, we should probably get kicking then. The next thing that we want to do is pick our skills. This is easy. There's just squares. You check them off. Increasingly, as you gain more, you have 8 points to spend.
8 points to spend, right. Is it that the Westerons still get more on character creation, or is it...
I don't actually remember that.
Yeah, I'm gonna check, because that's actually a very interesting thing. Because I always like the idea of Westeron, because they are basically, if you want to make a versatile everything character, they're the ones to make, because they are just good all-rounders. So
they're just people.
You got your humans here.
Oh yeah, there's no more of that.
Oh darn. Oh, and they have +2 to death roll. Fuck.
Only if killed by a planar creature.
Ah, gotcha. Jesus. Yeah.
On the plus side, humans are a good choice if you want the benefit being old world bloodline. You're you hail back to the old empire, so you've been here for ages. You've gained a resistance to all the diseases on the continent. You generally don't get sick. And then the drawback would just be you're also cursed because you were here when your species was here when the apocalypse happened. So when planar creatures come, they come to collect.
Yeah.
So for skill points, I think I'm not gonna max it out because he wasn't that good. He wasn't a master druid or anything. What he was a master glassblower. So I'm gonna take 2 points. So going from untrained to novice to trained in. Oh yeah, this is a good point. Mortal. It's
right.
yeah.
And for those who have watched Curse of the Life Drinkers, what would you need to specifically take to become a life drinker?
That is a sphere of mortal magic.
A sphere of mortal magic. Yes. Specifically the life drinkies.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's that. So yeah, Cooper was definitely a master brewer. I just put brewing down because, like, I don't know what I'm gonna be making this time.
Yeah.
Like, it was whiskey before because that's what I wasn't good with the old crafting system.
Yeah, the old crafting system was not as good as the new crafting system.
And whiskey was just one of the things where it was like, this works as a chunk by chunk. Like, it was the one that was the mathematically simplest, and I just kind of went, yes, this one.
So I also went expert in craft glassblower, which is not legible, but it's not like that matters because I don't think it's legible from the screen either way.
Yeah, probably not, but like we can do shit like this where it's like, yeah, alright, stuff like that.
Ooh, look at that. It's a character sheet.
Ooh, fancy character sheets.
So I've spent 5 of mine, so I have 3 left.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put 3 in Grace and probably 2 into Weapon. That way I get the benefit from basically always having a shield, so I can effectively pump my threshold up to 6 for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna put...
Who's winning the character sheet wars? In my heart, Duke will always win.
In Cooper's heart, Duke will always win.
In Cooper's heart, Duke will always win. Like, the reason why I went so hard into Senpai Notice Me for Cooper was because I loved Duke as a character. I thought he was fantastic.
I feel like also there's an important thing that the viewers are missing about Duke, which is... Hello, friend.
Yep.
How you doing? Name's Duke Crawdad. Pleasure to meet you. So,
Yeah.
like, when running, I mean, like, anybody who's watching this series can probably tell, like, it's not the chillest atmosphere.
No.
So, like, when you hear banjo in the distance and the smell of weed and the dude comes up going, hello, friends,
Like-
it's like, respite.
Like, literally, we would have just finished a fight. Like, we would have tried to, like, kill a goat that turned out to be a, like, greater demon. And then afterwards, we'd all just be sitting around going... and then just... ding 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 ding. And then we'd just be like... Yay! It's Duke! We're saved! Because, like... Duke kept monsters away from us. We weren't going to be attacked at night. Like, he was just so nice to have around.
He was a homebody. He was a good dude.
Yes.
So I spent my last points. I put 2 in Elemental, because he's like that's how he fights. He's a proficient Elemental fighter. And I put 1 in Perform, because he plays banjo, but he's not that good.
What is his flavor of Elemental? Because... the way we have always described Elemental is it's not really specific how you do it. It's very open to interpretation. For instance, we had a character, Sev, I think was his name?
Yeah.
Who literally smoked weed and used the smoke to conjure his elemental magic.
That was the campaign directly after. But yeah, he would just like puff and then go whoomp, and then the smoke would just like turn into a firebolt, right?
Yeah.
The way that Duke does it is typically like summoned weapons type of thing. Like that's how he killed Montague, like the first time that the campaign got real.
Oh, right! That was still with Lunk.
Oh yeah, because after that was...
Yeah, that was Lunk's departure, was that entire shit.
So, as far as the party knows, Duke is just as happy, hello friends, how's it going? And this is like, they get to, I think it was Bloodcrag?
Something like that, yeah.
And Duke goes, alright, I need to be honest with you guys, I've lured you here under false pretenses, and I need you to, like, be aware of what's going on. I would really like your help for this. there's this guy, and he explains the whole like backstory thing, and he goes, one of these guys is Montague. He's here. We can take him down. So the party walks in, and they're just going to see a guy. So as far as anyone knows, they're just walking up. They end up seeing this dude Montague, and he's basically going like, "Who are you? What do you want with me?" And Duke goes like, "You don't remember me? Not at all." Goes into this whole like, interesting that you wouldn't.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my swamp. Prepare to die.
That was basically it. It's like, I'm gonna ad-lib something that's probably cleverer than what I had, because I don't think it was actually a good line, but it was the sort of thing where it's like, if you're not gonna have the courtesy of remembering my name, I'm not gonna have the courtesy of process. You destroyed my henge, and you will face destruction. And then basically, he just goes like, boom, like that with a hand, and then it summons like a bluish, like pistol-looking thing, and he goes, poof, and just blows the guy's head open, and that's when we ended the session.
Yeah.
And then started it basically like at combat start right after that happened. Like I drew like red on the map and everything.
Yeah, it was good.
And so like as that happens, like cut down all the drawbridges, they shut down the compound, and these guys fight their way out. And it was after that, like after like Lunk charged the line, like got through all of them, and he took them down. And when the party finally catches up, because at this point they're basically like going go go go, and Lunklet, I don't know why I keep saying that, Lunk is just like running ahead, just like weapon in hand,
literally battering them. Will didn't even have me roll the dice.
Yeah,
it was literally like, who do you attack? They're gone.
There's a point where it's mathematically certain.
Yeah. And with the number, I think the end number was like 60-something enemies.
61.
61 enemies. 24 of which was just Lunk in a party of like 6.
Yeah.
It was insane.
And I think what it was like they turned the corner, and you were like halfway through eating a heart when you like got lucid again, and you were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was terrible at role playing that moment, but like essentially what it was is he looked at the horror that he had become, because his strength was always fighting by himself and like for himself and as himself, and the bloodthirst that he was in, which was a mechanic back then, basically made it so that he left without a single scratch, and he murdered everyone, and he doesn't remember any of it. And the person he was biting was essentially his mirror. It was another Torg that was built exactly like him, wearing the exact same armor, just fighting with a different weapon.
Yeah, he had a minigun, I think.
Yeah, something like that. And so he was basically tried to gun down Lunk. Lunk shrugged everything off, and the party came around the corner as they saw Lunk barreling this guy out of like one of the doorways, the only open doorway. And
which is also high key one of my like puzzle moments. I'm proud of that one. Please continue.
Basically charged him out of the way, and they came around the corner as he like raw meat wolf ripped out the dude's esophagus or something like that, and then came to, looked at the horror he became, and then just ran off without saying another word.
And the party never saw him again.
Never saw him again. But there were whispers. There were whispers of him. Yeah.
And speaking of insane abilities and vast capabilities, now's the time to move on probably to our benefits and drawbacks.
Yes, this is true. So we already have our species benefits and drawbacks. So we have the amphibious, thick shell, slow, and hulking. And now is actually time to look at the benefits and drawbacks, because
you hadn't had a chance? Me neither.
Well, it's just that some of them have changed. For instance, like Salus has the duelist, but I would need something more akin to Pikemaster.
Was it two-handed or pole arms?
It was just a normal wooden staff, which was...
Oh, right, yeah. I'm thinking about Lunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be Pike Master, because it's a polearm.
Right. So, for a Pike Master, I get plus 5 damage for everything in my reach, plus 10 for everything like at the edge of my reach. So, pole arms, you get 2 squares, basically.
Mm.
It's essentially equivalent to a chain, actually. Chain works the exact same way.
Mm.
And so if the person is directly adjacent to me, I get plus 5. If the person is another tile away, then I get plus 10 to my damage.
Oh, it's more like, so by default with pole arms, it's like if you have, is this visible?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Excellent. So if you're here, then you're able to hit squares 1, 2, and 3.
Ah, okay.
So if you're here, by default, without Pike Master, you'd be dealing -5 damage, nothing, and then +5 damage from your base. And then basically what it does is it takes this and just goes like, so that you can't attack your own square,
Right.
but then you have no effect, +5, +10.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. That's actually a really good ability to take, especially if you're a first level, because first level you do not want -5 early on. And things will swarm you.
Yeah. That's kind of the... If I can have a moment to talk about game design, it's almost one of the things that helps sort of the balance, because +10 is a lot of damage, which means you have to switch that out for sort of like a situational aspect. So there's a lot of other benefits where it's like you might have +10, but it's for something really niche. Whereas with Pike Master, basically the whole game is just you always have to move to retain that edge because people are trying to swarm you.
Mm-hmm. And the benefit of once per turn, I can move an attacked target is basically nice for that. If someone encroaches, I can push them back and then also off turn jab them again.
Exactly.
It's very useful for that. So if I want to burn someone down, it's essentially push them to the edge of my range. Bop bop. And yeah, so that's...
Unless you wanted to go for a like signature move type thing.
That's true. There are certain benefits for other things for signature move. Sentinel would also be good because I always have a shield.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always have an extra 5 threshold. My shield is considered one-handed, doesn't really apply, but I mean, I can use it to attack now.
Yep.
So I can shell attack. Or I think as it's listed as the Ninja Turtles list of attacks, Shell Shock. Which...
Ouch.
Yeah. That makes me happy. So if I had to go with Ninja Turtle type moves, something like Deathstroke doesn't really fit.
Mm-hmm.
But things like Surgical Strike, Disarm, and Trip definitely do. 100% they fit for a Ninja Turtle type character. Certain things, Trip is definitely interesting because I don't really know where it would apply for someone using a polearm, as like they have to have moved 3 squares. So like I could have pushed them and also then tripped.
Oh no, it's they have to use the movement to get back up. So you can just do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. I was definitely reading that wrong. The camera is right in my line of sight for this.
Yeah, it's like 10 camera screen.
I did not have a whole lot of time to think this layout through. So yeah, I can just straight up trip them, and that's 5 times per adventure or session, you know, whichever you want to list it as. You know, a DM can always say, well, you've rested at an inn, and essentially this is another adventure, so yeah. If he wants you to have your precious Deathstroke. Because Deathstroke is a precious ability.
I don't know what I should pick for Duke.
But like Trip definitely does seem like a good ability. Because what I can essentially do is move them to the edge of my range, trip, and then poke. They're considered as flanks, so I would get even more damage from that at that point.
And then if someone's nearby with a dagger,
stab. Yeah. Deathstroke. Cha! You wouldn't even need Deathstroke at that point. But Disarm is also good for just taking out a group. It's probably the most Ninja Turtle ability on the list, simply because that's very stereotypical. Ninja Turtles would be, they don't defeat they don't kill the person, even though they have katanas and sais. Like they don't do that. What they do
defeat.
is they defeat or disarm. Like, I'm fairly certain a number of times there's been a foot ninja that's had like 2 katanas in his hand, and like Leo just kind of cuts through both, and he just kind of goes like he's just like, all right, well, that's it.
I'm out. I'm done.
Yep, that's it. Nope, not doing this. So disarm is definitely one of those things where it's very useful. Especially for like big bads, if they're non-magical, because obviously you can't disarm.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't disarm a life drinker. I would have to rip his jaw off.
But at the same time, right? Like, because the life drinkers are basically like, the life drinking is an ability that people have. So like there's people like Boru was almost entirely a physical fighter, and he had like just enough to be a life drinker.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where Boru would have fought with actual weapons, and so I would have disarmed him, but he could still deal a lot of damage to me through life drink.
Yeah. And at the same time, it's things like when I build NPCs, usually the default is like, if someone walks up with a sword and a shield, if you disarm them, they have a dagger, and then they have to flank you. And then if you disarm them again, they're just fucked.
Yeah.
And they have to run for their weapon.
Yeah. Or try and punch you, which is hilarious. What did you get on that attack? 0.
Alright, I gotta think of what I'm gonna pick for this benefit. So I gotta pick something dookie.
There's definitely... I don't know about alchemical stuff.
Ooh, I think Warden is probably the best one.
Warden? Oh, yeah.
'Cause,
the
like,
magic protection stuff.
Yeah, I think I'd probably get that.
Yeah.
Except the thing is, he's no longer a ritualist, because now it's Druidism isn't a ritual thing, it's a mortal thing.
Really? Oh, interesting.
Which, actually, if we want to take a moment to sit on this and go over to like the skills and then the like the magical schools from there.
Right. Skills. Yeah, it's good. There we go, that works. I don't know why that thing is at the top. We don't choose the advertisements on bloodwine.fandom.com.
We do not.
They just think that I want to do that, and I don't know why. Let's see.
It should be all the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, and then if you click school, where it's highlighted.
We got the Henge Druidism, the Grove Druidism, shape changing, which is very interesting. That's actually something I'm considering for Salus.
Interesting.
It's one of those things where I'm actually considering that, because based on our last adventure, the only reason he got caught was he was a Pythona in a world of humans. And that might piss him off to the point where he goes mortal school shape changing, just so he can be like, fuck you, no one's gonna recognize me now. Because Salus is spiteful.
He's got a lot of that spite power.
He's got a lot of spite power, and I think shape changing is definitely one.
Well, I got what I need. He's Duke is a henge druid, so there we go.
Yes.
Which means, if I take a moment to read this for the viewers, so you're able to like attack with summoned like insta-grown plants, again single creatures within 5 squares, like a weapon attack. You can also use your magic to like grow and wither plants around you, type of thing. If you're trained, which is what Duke is, you're also able to manipulate up to a 5x5 area as a free action, which is literally just like you can walk up, take a marker the way that we do, and just like rewrite the terrain, because that's what druids do. He is not an expert, so he can't do any of that stuff about like melding with plants, but that's about it.
He can't become his weed.
Can't.
That would be a painful experience. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but like you're then put into a pipe and lit on fire.
Well, that's some existential dread.
It would not be good for him. He would come out a changed druid. But then again, all of the stuff is like, essentially it's plant clippings and would be like dead plant anyway. So I don't know why he would want to shift into that. I'm actually kind of curious about the shape-shifting now. What is the novice can change their facial features and superficial stuff, but can't shift dramatically. Trained have more control so that they are able to shift into any playable race. Okay. And can create weapons and shields? Interesting. So like I could pretend to be walking around with a katana at the point of trained. That's very, very interesting.
You can kind of just like go and like reach into the dirt and take out a sword from nothing type of thing.
I'm curious, what level of trained would Yella have been? Would she wasn't a novice because she did full race shifts.
Yep, she was just trained.
She was just trained? Okay. Because yeah, we never saw her turn into pseudo horrible mortal forms.
But what you did see is fucking, what was the name again? He was another druid. Redwing, I think. Were you?
Oh yeah, Redwing. Yeah, Redwing was another shape-shifting druid.
And you just walk in and he's just toddling around, and then when the fight starts, he just turns into this horrifying like
he was a dragon
monster.
He was a dragon. It's ever if you want to roleplay as a dragon, you basically go mortal shape-shifting and like groove druid.
Oh, never mind. I got that wrong. It was just full grove druid because experts can turn them into like animalistic forms and animalistic horrors type of thing. So he on occasion, like I think at one point he turned into just a bird, but for the most part he would turn into the horror and just be this giant like giant like bird thing.
Yeah, I remember that. The first time I was ever introduced to Redwing, we were in a stealth mission, and it went south thanks to Gabe's character Sam, who was so good at magic, but terrible at everything
else.
And there were great moments with him. Like I loved Sam. Sam was hilarious, but he basically blew our cover. And instantly Redwing is just like dragon time. And it just like came out like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
What did our companion just become?
Which I love because it's kind of like both of the parties at the same time. Like the NPCs and you guys are like, what the fuck? And then basically like attack. And then the rest of the NPCs are like, what the fuck? Meanwhile, you're like, okay.
All right.
It's working.
Not attacking us. Okay, we'll deal with it. Yeah.
Acceptable.
So yeah, there is
There's
that.
benefits and drawbacks. Are you able to scroll to the top and then just go to contents show?
And then
Just scroll through it a little bit.
okie dokie. I'm looking at like the combat support stuff. I love the combat support stuff. Bolster and trash talk were my favorite things.
Yeah, I really don't know what I want to do with him, so I guess I'll just be like helper.
Yeah, helper is pretty good.
And then we both need to pick a drawback.
Right. Well, we don't need to pick specifically. Oh no, it does need to be a drawback, doesn't it? Yes. This is not a level up. This is character creation.
Yeah. Well, for Duke, I'm gonna pick unfocused because
that makes sense. You know what? Since my character is always drunk, I think I'm gonna go with unfocused as well.
there we go. There we
Yeah.
go.
So it's very difficult for us to go from like ready to up to like the ready empowered threshold.
Yeah, it
That's
would all
about
need
it.
to be like event cards, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we can train, but we only get like half from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I could train by making more alcohol, thus making me more unfocused.
Well, that's the thing. You're making the alcohol, but you're not really paying attention.
Like I have the alcohol, but yeah. So that's definitely going to be my drawback is unfocused.
Which means I believe our stamina's there's nothing unusual about it, so we're starting at 100 at ready. We have hurt, tired, 50.
Yeah, the only
Tired, ready,
correct me
100.
if I'm wrong. There's a juggernaut benefit, or like one of the benefits that increases the
I believe so, and
threshold, as well as just straight being Torg.
you have bonus beef.
Yeah, that was one of my
Like when you're nice at Manchuak.
bonus beef. Yeah, I think it's one of the warrior. I want to say warrior.
I don't think so.
No? Okay. That might be something that gradually faded out because it
Yeah.
used to be Juggernaut was like you're unstoppable.
Mhm.
Like you basically increased a whole bunch and you couldn't
Yeah.
die.
I might have to take a look at that because I swear I put it in. Like I swear genuinely, like I balanced the benefit, but
I believe it because I mean like if you want to make a tanky character, putting off rafting is like one of the best things you can do. Because once you dip into hurt, you're hurting a lot.
so then I believe all that's left is inventory.
Yeah, it's kind of hilarious. I haven't even selected armor, and already I have more threshold than Salus.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
One more look at Pike Master.
I'm gonna look at
Yeah.
the inside of this beer and the inside of your bathroom.
Okay. So I will hold down the fort while you do that. Whoop whoop. All right. So yeah, some of the other benefits and drawbacks, they change how your threshold is going to work. Specifically, Florentine, Duelist, Warrior. Those are fantastic. If you were making a character that you want to be more tanky. Oh, actually, Duelist doesn't increase your threshold at all. Oh. Do I have that right? Do I have that right on my character sheet? Yeah, I do. Okay. Yeah, no, that checks out. That checks out. With Salus, it doesn't really matter, my threshold, because I just move other people in to take the damage for me. I don't need threshold when I'm not being hit. But yeah, things like Florentine and Warrior are good for tankier characters. I don't really know what Cooper is actually going to be, per se. Like, though definitely could be used as a frontline fighter, but it's definitely going to be difficult for that. Simply because I don't have any benefit to my threshold. I'm definitely not going to be the tankiest, but the fact that I am a shield, if I form a shield wall, I am a shield wall, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, because I was just thinking, like, I was worried about, like, Duelist and Florentine, but, like, the way to play a Pike Master is to stand behind someone who has a shield, form a unit with them,
Precisely.
and then you just...
It's almost like it's a winning strategy. It's almost like it's historically a winning strategy.
Yeah, it's almost like historically, that's what people did. the shield wall, and then they have little teeny tiny gaps with a shit ton of spikes.
That was one thing that was fun for the Beowulf fight.
Right.
Is that it never really came up mechanically that you had a shield wall, but like high key, the shield wall was dominating that entire fight because the Beowulfs would see and be like, not going that way.
Yeah, and for the attacks that the Beowulfs did get in, you could definitely see the difference between shield wall and not shield wall, because there would be stuff like, it attacks you, cool, we don't take damage because shield wall, and then it would be like, it attacks you when like Elbjorn got separated. He got decked. He got decked hard. And you can definitely see the outcome of that. And it's one of those things where like, you want to make a tank, you can make a tank, and it will definitely be good in a shield wall situation, and that is essentially what Cooper is going to be. Going to be in the shield walls.
I dig it.
If necessary. So now we are moving on into equipment.
Indeed we are.
Equipment, there we go.
Which is easy for Duke, because he kind of just has a banjo.
Yeah. So what are the specific rules for equipment again? We get 10 gold to spend however we want.
20 gold to spend however you want, and then 5 gold, silver, and copper. That's just in your pocket.
So, one specific thing that we would want, there's definitely stuff, there's like armor we can look at. I need to buy a pole arm. Yeah. We need to buy basic camping supplies. Stuff like a tent. As I have learned, you will always need a tent, which is one of the hilarious things about David. I don't think he ever had a tent.
He got by.
No, he bought a tent when Yella joined, and it was specifically a 2-person tent. I remember that. I was like, this is going to be a thing now. We're moving on. And he also bought soap and perfume. I remember that. It was great. I love David. I've loved all of my characters so far. Every single one have had something that's truly special. So I would probably need... I can't have like an oven or kiln or anvil. What would you say I would need for distilling alcohol?
For distilling alcohol, that would be a still. I think that's actually in
there.
there.
Brewing still. There we go. You thought of me. Alright, 6 copper. That's like nothing. So even if I go through and just kind of 20 gold. Oh wow. I need to separate that out even better. So that would be...
I'm going to buy... It was a bit above 5 gold for a kiln. Which takes up 20 encumbrance.
4 copper for a brewing still. Now would you have me also get a refining still if I wanted to improve upon it, or just the brewing still?
That'd be more if you want to do like alchemy and stuff like that.
Right, okay.
Similarly, if you happen to pick up an alembic or a heating flask or some tubing.
So I could be like how Vesta has bread making and alchemical like infusion into the bread to make it basically bread crack. As we've seen in our campaign, because every single one of us is just like, yeah, no, Vesta's bread, that's dope bread.
Woo!
Ooh. Good job, Mill Street.
Woo! Yeah, that's more a good job me taking beer on the bus.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh well. Shit happens.
Carpets, that's good.
Yep, that's very good. I appreciate that. So yeah, encumbrance of 20. We gonna need a wagon. Because I need something to store that alcohol in, right? So I'm gonna need some kegs.
Well, I mean, Duke had a wagon.
That is true. Duke did have a wagon. I also had my own wagon. I had my wagon specifically designed so I could hang kegs off of it because it was getting so ridiculous how much I was producing and couldn't sell.
Oh man,
That was good
a time.
That was definitely a time. So I would probably say that I would take keg and some nice glass, like some flasks to like tap the keg, pour out to, and then sell
Yeah.
as bottles.
As a GM, if I were running that, I think I would include those in like crafting materials.
Okay, as like the bottles itself.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Do you want to scroll up a bit?
Yeah.
You're on the like tools and stuff.
Yep.
Because I think there's like clamp or something, or maybe it's near the bottom.
Pliers.
Well, because he's a glass blower, so he needs to be able to manipulate it.
Right. Yeah, you have like your bellows, the cask, the keg, alembic, tubing. Yep. Preserving clamp.
I'm just gonna say it's not a bottling preserving clamp, but that it's like
A glass blowing clamp. Yeah.
So that would be
Oh.
1 silver.
Yep, 1 silver, 2
And-
encumbrance. And I'm definitely gonna have a keg just because I want a keg. Like, come on. So that puts me down to 8 silver and yes, 8 copper.
All right.
For a keg of 10 encumbrance. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need a
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, if you just want to go down to clothes, I'm gonna have Duke wear some shit, and then I think that's it. The rest can all be.
Quickly tent.
Yeah.
Unless I'm gonna be sleeping where I brew.
That's true. If you have a big enough wagon, you don't need a tent because you can sleep in it.
Yeah. How much are the wagons?
Oh, let's go down to the bottom. Well, not the full bottom, but keep going. Oh, there it is.
All right. Canvas top would probably be good, like the 2-horse ones.
Mm-hmm. Sits 2, nice and cozy, 10 gold.
Yeah.
That being said, if you want to go up to a 4, I can pony up like another 10 gold and do like half of that.
The 4-horse covered wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just check and see for like armor and weapons and stuff like that.
Excuse me.
We'll save the wagon for last on that.
Mm.
Oh god. Yeah, let's just go to clothes then, I guess, so we can pick out our various accoutrements. So you get the shirt, underclothes, breeches, tunic, robe, cloak, cape, half cape, hood.
I'm gonna give Duke a tunic. So that'd be. Where is that? I think it's a bit up.
Yep, tunic, 2 gold.
So it's also 2 threshold. So I'm gonna increase that threshold from 3 to 5.
Oh Jesus Christ! A dress is fucking 4 gold.
Yeah, they're fancy things. Medieval
Jesus.
clothes are insanely expensive.
Like,
You'd have like 2 shirts at a time.
yeah. I'd probably have to go with just like.
Tunic's 2 gold, so I'm going from 14 down to 12.
Honestly, I'd probably just end up going for like a robe.
Yeah, that works.
Like just, but it's 5 gold. It's pain. I'm trying not to spend all that much. Just run around in underclothes.
Yeah, just get a shirt and breeches. 1 gold, 5 silver.
Fine. So let's put gets me down to 18, and then 3 silver. Okay. So I have my nice tunic. Oh, also I like that I'm wearing my brewing still. That's
you listed in your worn inventory?
yeah. Brewing still.
We're still brewing.
We're still brewing. Don't worry about it. And my keg. That's 10. My tunic, which doesn't really have encumbrance, and my breeches.
They have encumbrance equal to their threshold if it's clothes, and then double if they're armor, but it doesn't count if you're wearing it.
Right. Yeah, and I'd probably just be wearing that, like, when I'm not planning on going into battle.
Yeah.
Could I wear that, like, I depends on what armor, right? I was gonna say if I could I wear that over/under armor?
Yeah. It's just it wouldn't affect the threshold.
Right.
Well, because what are you thinking about?
I don't know. Originally, I built Cooper such that she was a frontline fighter in, like, every sense of the word. She was tanky. She didn't have heavy armor. She had medium armor. Because that was kind of a sweet spot for her acrobatics. Like, that was a sweet spot for her movement and stuff like that. Which, by the way, acrobatics isn't really a thing. Anything that, like, increases movement speed isn't really a thing.
Nah, there's a number of options, but...
But I'm not really sure. I would probably just say, like, Gambison?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like some Gambison would be alright.
Gambison? That's the worst joke I've ever made in my entire life.
Oh, yeah, got it. Yeah. Wow.
Oh god, that's on the internet now. There's evidence of a joke that bad.
Yeah.
Well, we can ruminate on it.
No, I think Gambison is definitely the most, like, fitting because, like, the Ninja Turtles, they naked, but, like, we're not gonna do that.
Nah.
Like, I'm not gonna be freeballing Cooper.
Free cloaking.
No one needs that mental image. I did not need that mental image. So yeah, that's definitely something else for this. The sad thing is that threshold is, like, better than I currently have. Like, my threshold being 6 is better than Salus's 4.
Salus is not meant to take the hits.
Yeah, Salus doesn't need threshold. He's not the one getting hit. So yeah, I think I will go for the Gamison, definitely. Which will give me 11 threshold, which is decent.
Yeah.
It's a decent threshold. So that's Gambison. Or
It would be
5 encumbrance?
10. Because now it's armor and not like clothing.
10. Okay. And so that's 11 threshold.
Yeah.
And that brings me down to 11 gold to
Oh, we're about the same. I'm at 11 gold, 9 silver.
find a weapon. This is where we are going to differ. I don't need a shield, thankfully. I don't need a focus. I need a polearm. Specifically, just a wooden stick.
There should be staff in there, if I remember correctly.
How about a fighting stick? A fighting fighting Scythe. Like, if you want to go edgy, we were debating for a while on Salus having a Scythe.
Yeah, it's... I'm not gonna lie, I love the fact that the whole, like, core joke of Salus is that, like, he's an absolute edgelord, but, like, straight up in-world is also, like, a bit of an edgelord.
Yeah, like, he is an edgelord, both in-world and out-of-world. Like, we specifically made him such that he would be an edgy edgelord who edges.
Edges all over the edge.
Which is why he has a chain instead of a sword. Was because it's edgier.
Exactly.
And it also works really well with his build, as we've discovered, just going grab. Yeah, no, he's fantastic for that. And this staff is actually perfect, because that puts me at 10 gold, 3 silver, 8 copper.
Dope.
For buying a thing, so I don't need a tent. Staff for another 10 encumbrance. So I'm at 22 encumbrance with clothes and all that for my
so
warrant.
your clothes are discounted, so anything else you're carrying.
So 20.
Yeah.
Well,
anything you're wearing, so the gambeson is also discounted as long as you have it on.
Yeah. It's just
so we got our wagons. There should be mounts as well, because we need something to pull the wagon.
Right. And this is kind of making me broke.
We don't need a ballista.
Are you sure we could mount the ballista onto our thing? Just roll into town. What up, my dude?
I had a campaign like that. What it was they had, like, it was a covered wagon, and then they had an extra set of ribs that hid the ballista, and then another cover. So what they would do is...
Game of Thrones did.
Yeah. You'd, like...
Before Game of Thrones did it, too.
Mm-hmm. You'd, like, walk up, and then... I think at one point they were actually, like, approached by a bandit who had, like, a full, like, jacket covered in, like, vials and was ready to throw potions, and it's just like, you guys are gonna go up if you don't give me some money. And then they just, like, yanked a string and unfurled the cloth, and there's just clearly a ballista pointed directly at the guy, and he just goes... Okay.
And now we part ways.
Yep.
So definitely not going to be able to get a rooster. Can we have 4 hens?
I think we gotta go a bit lower to get to the mounts. Oh, there we go. Ox and that sort of stuff.
Okay. Where is the injured donkey that no one wants anymore?
Well, the way it was, it used to be that they were donkeys that were pulling Duke's cart, because he had a cart.
Mm-hmm.
But what we could do is, if we want to pull some more, like, lore-friendly stuff, we could have a leaf beast.
A leaf beast? Ooh.
I mean, would pull a 2-horse.
That would.
Because it's pull 2.
How does what happen, Salajol? Oh.
Somehow you look less nerdy with glasses?
Because I look fucking good in glasses, alright? Listen.
Looking fucking fine.
Ever since I was a kid, I've wanted a reason to wear glasses. Because ever since I was a kid, I've been like, I look fucking good in glasses. And I don't know why I don't wear them all the time now, because literally my goal is achieved. I have shitty vision now.
I did it! Mom, Dad, I want to tell you, I finally did it. I got bad vision.
My years of playing video games have paid off. My years of staring at a screen this close to my face have paid off. I now can't see far away and have to wear glasses. But I just don't wear them all the time. But yeah.
So yeah, we could do that. We could get some, like, draft horses. We could get an ox. Oh yeah, the leaf beast is 40 gold. We can't afford a leaf beast.
Yeah, that's literally what I'm saying. I can't afford a pony.
Yeah, let's so the draft horse is 20 gold, and it's pull 1, so we can't afford that. Can go up a bit more. Ox is 30 gold. Can't have that either. No, I think we might be locked out. I think we might need to downsize.
Yeah, we need to downsize, definitely.
Do you still need a wagon to carry all your stuff?
I mean, I have 30 encumbrance for my brewing still in keg.
Oh yeah, in that case, if we just get like a 1-horse covered wagon, then there we go. Plus, it gives me a place to put my kiln.
Yeah, but would we be able to sleep in that as well? 2 people.
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That being said, it's cheaper to just buy tents.
Okay, so we're back to buying a tent. Gotcha.
Back to buying a tent.
Gotcha.
We're tenting it.
We're
getting canvas up in here.
So we're going halvesies on a 1-horse covered wagon.
So that's 2 gold, 5 silver each.
Yep.
So I'm down to 9 gold, 4 silver left.
I am down to 7 gold and 8 silver.
I think I'm gonna buy a draft, or take a look at the price for a draft horse.
Yeah, I'm willing to also go halvesies on horsies.
Lower down, I think. Yeah, there we go. Draft horse is 20 gold, so we need 10 each. I don't have 10.
I don't have 10. Huh.
That being said, this is a 1-horse, so we can just pull it ourselves.
I guess. We can Leland it.
Yeah.
And like it's not that difficult with 2 people.
No,
And like the best part is we are both expert crafters. So it's literally like we roll into town and go, money please.
Money, 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 money. Just full Mr. Krabs it.
Yeah. We can get to the point where we can afford 2 oxen to just kind of pull a 4-horse wagon. Like we can get to that point. We need to expand our industry.
See, this is the level of immersiveness you need from a tabletop RPG. We're dreaming that one day we can buy an ox, 2 even.
One day we will buy an ox and it will pull our wagon. And then we'll upsize to a 2-horse wagon and the ox will still be able to pull it.
Dreams that we may one day achieve.
Dreams.
So yeah, we went halvesies on that, and I guess we're just carrying it. So then I've got 9 gold, 4 silver left.
That leaves me with 7 gold, 8 silver for a tent and any other accoutrement.
Yeah, let's scroll up to that camping gear, because we need to...
We need some camping gear.
Yep. We start with 7 days of supplies and food.
Right. Oh crap, I think that's something I haven't even been keeping track of.
Salas?
On Salas, I've been keeping track of his food. I haven't been keeping track of his supplies.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
No wonder I've been like, money, money, money.
Oh man.
That's gonna go away real quick.
Going up a little ways.
Oh, there was tent.
1 gold per 2 people. Want to share a tent?
Hey. It can literally be like either we have 2 tents or we have 1 tent big enough for 2 people. It does not matter thematically. Like it does not matter in terms of purchasing. If we are like splitting a tent or buying our own. So we might as well just have a 2-person tent that 1 person just sets up.
Yeah, and then like we're Tortuga, so we're wide and we turtle stack and it's all good.
Yeah.
In which case, I, for one, am going to spend 4 of my silver to get a bedroll, because that's probably a good call.
Oh yeah, definitely a good call. Stowed items.
And I mean, he's Duke Crawdad, so I gotta have the grill and the pan at the very least for those crawdads.
Oh yeah.
Or, nah, higher volume. I'm gonna go for a grill and a pot. So I'm gonna tank 8 silver there. So I'm at 7 and 7 left.
3 for that. I am going to go for a mug. You know what? No. 2 mugs.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Covering me. I like it.
Yeah. That, and I have 4 silver, so it puts me down to an even 0 silver.
Mhm.
And so that would be 4 encumbrance on that.
Oh, right. I forgot to get the bedroll, pot, grill, and tent encumbrance.
There we go. I put the tent encumbrance for 10 on mine, but like it really doesn't matter. We should both have it listed on our sheet.
Well, it's 5 when it's packed per 2 people, so you're only getting 5 encumbrance off the top.
Oh, I read that wrong again.
Then each of us will have the...
This is why when I play Magic with people, they have to correct me like every 5 seconds, because I read cards wrong all the time in Magic, and it's hilarious.
Especially because Magic cards are such a specific line.
Yeah, like they use such specific wording that if it's like a minor variation, it means completely different effects. And so like I'll read something and someone will go, "Hang on a minute." And then they'll like, I pass the card to them and they go, "That's not how this works at all." But they still play with me, and that makes me happy. Do we need a Wang Jangler?
I'm just gonna go high class and get a fork, knife, and spoon.
Ooh.
It's a whole 3 silver I'm flushing down the drain.
Yikes. Barrel bag. I put my keg in a barrel bag.
Have you ever actually used a barrel bag?
Like
IRL?
Like, okay, so no, I have not used a barrel bag IRL. However, my family has something that is larger than a like duffel bag and like larger than an athlete's bag. We call it the body bag because genuinely it looks like a body bag, but it's bigger. Like it would fit a person who's like 7 foot. And it's like, and I used that the entirety of my university career. Whenever it was like, "Oh, I'm coming home from the weekend," laundry, zip.
Yeah. One thing that's really nice is I have one of those proper like camping duffel bags, like the one that's like full size and you like fold it down and then strap it in and got all the straps on the sides.
Nice.
And like it's so nice when you're traveling because you can sit there and go, I could have 3 bags or I could have 1.
Yeah, like that's exactly it. And the hilarious part was when my sister moved to Kingston and we had to move all of her stuff in one go. We went the entire trip to Kingston, which was a 6-hour drive, with a duffel bag, like that body bag, across our laps, full of clothes. It hurt.
Yeah, sometimes I think back and I'm like, he has back problems. I wonder if it's because I like was on 16-hour car trips with stuff on my lap throughout most of my childhood.
It's entirely possible, yeah. I'm also gonna go for a spoon, fork, and eating knife.
Ooh, fancy. The 3 silver combo.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I should get tongs because I gotta get those out of the...
Yeah, you gotta get those crawdads out. Spoon, fork, and knife are all 1 encumbrance. And it's 3 silver. That brings me down to 7 silver.
I don't think I need anything else.
5 gold.
Oh, did I give you my share for the... Yeah, I did.
And I need a barrel bag. I don't know why I need a barrel bag, because I have a keg, and you'd think it would be fine, but you gotta seal that shit up.
Yeah.
If it's bad weather out, you know, you just take the barrel bag, you wrap the barrel, and you seal it up.
Exactly. Okay, so I think I'm pretty much good. I'd be taking what I have and then spending some of it on materials, putting some back in pocket.
Yeah, I was gonna say I probably need like... Wait, barrel bag is 50 when rigid? Like...
Oh no, it's 50 and it's a rigid object.
Okay. My mentality of a bag failed me on that one. I'm like, why is it rigid if it's a bag? But there are rigid bags. You get like hard bags. So that brings me down to 1 gold. And
Yeah, like the reason the barrel bag is in there is because I used to use those on camping trips. Like it's literally like it's a backpack and it's just straight up a barrel on the back and you put your food in there.
That's fair. That is totally fair.
It's a brilliant invention.
Sounds good. I'm also gonna grab some rope. Rope is always good.
Good call.
And I'm gonna grab. I got 8 copper, so I'll use all of my copper to get 8 meters of rope.
Want to take 2 of my copper and make it 10?
Okay.
And then I'll just pass you all my change, basically.
Rope. That's another 5 encumbrance.
So then I'm going to pass you, that'd be 3 gold, 5 silver I'm going to pass to you.
For what?
Oh, just I'm not spending my money.
Yeah, but I also have 1 gold, 7 silver that I'm going to be spending on starting up my enterprise.
That's fair, that's fair, that's fair.
I still haven't even dipped into my savings.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, you know, I think I'm good. You start up your enterprise, your blower enterprise, and I'll start up my brewer enterprise.
I'm gonna blow like nobody else I've ever seen.
I'm gonna brew like nobody's business.
I think that means we have finished our characters, because there's nothing we gotta go back and amend, or at least there's nothing I gotta go back and amend.
No, I've been like amending as we've gone. I have Gambison. How does that affect my speed?
It's light armor, so it's -1/-1.
Okay, so I'm at 5-1.
And I'm at 6-2.
That is... Oof.
It's slow and steady, ain't it?
Yeah, I'm really missing Cooper's athleticism of +1/+1 and just acrobatic out the ass. That was Sonic.
I think there's still the rules for like sprinting though in the universal rules.
Probably. So like I can use an action to sprint, which doesn't exhaust me at all. So like off turn sprint. All right, cool. I have all of that grace going for me. Is it in player rules or is it in universal?
It should be universal because NPCs use, for the most part, they use the same combat rules.
Okay.
I say for the most part because it's basically like they use the combat rules plus a little more.
Right. I'll go to the show.
Contents.
Raid combat for groups, non-attack moves. Move actions.
Walk, run,
yeah.
position. And then sprint is a subset of run because you just...
And you may additionally use your minor action to add +3 to the number of squares you can move. Okay. So yeah, so I can do the normal walk of 5-1, and then I can off turn to run.
Which adds your physical bonus.
Okay, so that
Plus
would be 4. So I essentially my off turns when I run is the same as my on turns. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That sounds good. And then I got the grace to dodge for my defenses, and that's about it. What do you think? What do you think potential level ups for Duke are?
Oh, that's a good question. A lot of it would be skills, broadening the social ones because he does like trade and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, for the most part, it would be boosting skills. But Duke was never super high level.
I see you put a point into perform. That's interesting.
Yeah, he plays banjo.
Oh, right, he does. You're right. Yeah, so he's novice banjo. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. I like that.
So if you were to roll to perform banjo, he'd roll
well.
Yeah. That's an 11.
Yeah, good job for him.
11 to Banjo.
11 to Banjo. Okay. So you would go
God
for...
forbid me Kazooie.
Well, I know what I'm putting my points in performing. So you would put points into convince, or no, barter for trade.
Barter, definitely a lot of understand. Probably not a lot of convince, but at least a little bit of deceive.
Okay.
Other than that, a little, like, some Arcana, some Brawn, and I think that's pretty much it. A little bit of Ritual, because he was a ritualist as well, but...
Yeah. And, like, I know I took the Pike Master benefit for Cooper, but I think definitely what I would want to go is something like Surgical Strike and Trip, simply because Surgical Strike, combined with Pike Master's max range, really nice. That's really nice. So that means that next turn, like, they're taking 10 damage for your normal strike, and then next turn they are taking your secondary attack, which also has plus 10. Like, that's 20 damage. Guaranteed.
Saladril says, am I drinking a Zima? I don't think Zima's actually, like, existed in Canada for,
I don't think so.
decades.
I've never seen it.
This is a Mill Street Cobblestone Nitro Stout. It's a nice, like... It's velvety, which is nice whenever they have, like, the nitro carbonation. It doesn't have that same, like, edge that typical, like, carbon carbonation does.
Yeah.
Well...
But I'd probably also go for Sentinel, just because if I take Sentinel, I would probably say next level, take Sentinel. Because that's an extra 5 threshold. That puts me at 16 threshold permanently.
Saladril says velvety.
Yeah, velvety.
It is. It's fucking velvety. I attest.
You attest?
I attest to the velvetaciousness.
Are there any, like, elemental fighting styles you would give him as you're leveling up?
No, he really was not meant to be, like, a PC per se. Like, there's a reason he was seeking help.
Right, okay.
He's definitely got a lot of, like, in a party, he would be a key role because he's a big moneymaker with crafting, and, like, the, like, henge druidism and the ritualism is good.
And also the social aspect is good, because some people like murder hoboing, and some people like optimized damage builds. Gabe and I tend to neglect our social skills.
Yeah.
Which is why we like Chelsea. Yeah, he doesn't conform to PC culture. That's true. I don't know.
Are you saying that, like, your PCs are just, like, angry and edgy all the time?
You've seen Salus.
That's true.
And, like, matching that is Leland being an asshole.
Oh god. How far is Salus from being, like, full Kekistan cringe level?
He's not really that far yet. I would say once he gets Shapeshifter, that's where it really kicks off.
That's where you get the fedora.
Because, like, you get Surgical Strike, Elemental Affinity, and, like, he's basically already at the point where he doesn't want anyone near his sister. So, like, he's basically already at the point where he can tip fedoras at people. And another spoiler for a other character that will be joining, that Will has spoiled for me. Straight up, he's already attached to another character that is not Trunk. I can tell you right off the bat he is going to love another character.
Oh, right. I can do the spoiler for this one because it's almost entirely audio. It's not communicable via text.
My name's Elmira. Hi.
Oh, God. What have I done?
What the fuck you mean, oh god? What the fuck you saying? Huh?
What have I done?
Yeah, I'll tell you what you fucking done. You're about to get fucking janked, huh? Go on, fucking drink. Go. You wanna fucking go, bitch? Come on.
I need my fun NPCs.
Yeah.
Right now, I just have Elbjorn, who's depressed, and Red, who's like just a quiet person.
Mm-hmm.
I need someone camp.
Yeah, you need some campiness in there just for your own mental well-being. I think one of the abilities that it would probably take would be trash talk. I would probably up my performance a little bit. I don't know what my performance would be. It could totally be Kazoo at this point. Like, that's flavor, really, though. Performance is just flavor.
Yeah.
Well,
also, like, performance...
Like, David...
It hasn't come up, but you can use it basically as a craft skill. It's just instead of making things, you go into town and get tips.
Yeah, like, David's craft skill, or his performance skill, was he performed shows and battles involving his sword, and that was his reason why he became an adventurer, was because he wanted to make stories about himself.
Mm.
And it didn't work out. It really didn't work out. He had a bad time. But
that was a fun campaign. Everyone got real traumatized.
That was a very fun campaign. But stuff like trash talk is very good for that. And even masterwork. We definitely both have to go masterwork, I think, at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know which benefit I would probably take that as, like which level. Like, first, it's definitely Sentinel for that extra threshold.
I feel
extra
like Masterwork would be the
good.
kind of thing where, like, now you're thinking, like, potentially trash talk for Salus, like that kind of thing where it's like, later.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, like, even Leland, he had these swords, but he went Masterwork, like, last level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just was just like, yeah, I have a level, and this fits. This makes me better, so screw it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like that's masterwork in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think we just polished off a character. I think we just got it.
Yep, we have polished off our two characters.
It has been just about 2 hours, and that's with like 50% fluff.
50? Like, if we wanted to power through this, we could easily power through this.
I'm not gonna lie, as a GM, if I want to power through it, I basically just open the benefits list and just reference, and it's like 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes.
15? I could take 5. Like, you want me to make Lunk? Alright. Fucking physical, mental, social, done. And then, like, max out Brawn, and, like, all the other points don't matter. Like, Brawn, weapon, everything else can just fuck off. He would probably take a point in, I don't know, convince, because he's intimidating as fuck. And then it would just be like benefits, warrior, whatever the green Torg, or is it green Torg or red Torg? I think red Torg are the, like, raw warrior.
Well, we can double check, because I think the next tab is species.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, let's see. Red Torgs.
Yes, so it would be a red Torg, easy, no problem. Routine, because of the Torgish drawbacks, would definitely be his drawback. Being the towering beef that he is, he requires...
I forgot that I named the benefit that, and I'm really happy about it.
I'm also really happy about it. So yeah, his muscles are constantly pushing, so he has to work out. So taking routine just
Yeah.
It just ensures that you're doing this, and if you are building this, you are training your brawn. So you need to spend 2 hours training your brawn. Your routine is you're fucking hucking trees around. I don't fucking know what a red Torg can do. Like,
well, I feel like red Torgs is basically just push-ups, except they have to lift more because of who they are. They're a 10-meter wall of flesh.
Like it's literally going to your friend, like
10 foot.
It's literally going to someone else and being like by the campfire while they're eating and being like, you back now, and doing push-ups with them on your back.
Yeah.
While they're just sitting there like eating. And then it would just be like fucking armor, heaviest fucking armor, beef the boy out, 2 weapons, like have him with a fucking Dane axe or a fucking giant maul.
Well, you saw
And
the
that's
build.
about it.
You saw the build for Trunk.
Yeah.
that for our viewers, if you tune in to the next session, we're going to be uploading the character sheets, so if you guys want a backseat game and make suggestions for NPC, you will have their stats to make that decision. But you saw Trunk's stats. You saw that threshold.
He's a beef boy.
He's a beefy boy.
He's a towering beef. Actually, I think he was green.
Yeah, he's not even a red target. Could be even more.
Yeah, he's a beef. So yeah. Like, that's literally 5 minutes character creation. So I would say this is like 85% fluff. And then like probably like 5% us checking time.
And it's
or like checking the things to make sure we know what we know.
And it sucks because at the same time, that number for fluff we can't go by because we've been actively buffing the fluff this entire time that we've been talking about the fluff itself.
Yes. Talking about the fluff increases the fluff. So,
carry the fluff, under the fluff.
So yeah, that's going to be the character creator.
Yeah.
I don't know how this is supposed to be helpful for someone doing an actual character creator and just wants the actual character creator.
I mean, if that were to be the case, if someone just wants to do that, they could check out bloodwine.fandom.com
/player rules, player_rules, for the specifics.
Well, if you go to bloodwine.fandom.com, it gets you to the landing page, and that basically
you can
is
find
like the
everything
hub.
there. Yeah.
The whole point is that if you go to the landing page, it's got everything you need. That's just boom.
So if you do that, you can find the specific level ups, and this is just the step-by-step. In case reading's not your thing, like I have terrible reading comprehension skills, as we have learned.
And if you guys don't want to watch a 2-hour video of this, and you'd rather it be like 10 minutes or something, let us know.
Like, I can edit this down.
Yeah.
I can edit this down. I think it would be an easy point. Whenever I see us scribbling, I'll just go back a few seconds and do that. Anyway, so thank you everyone for showing up. This was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, surprisingly, just sitting there and like making a character I've already made that I'm never going to use.
Yeah, this is like memeing podcasting levels of fun. So yeah. If you'd like to see more of this, feel free to join our Discord. Link can be found by clicking the banner of the Discord icon down below. Ooh. And yeah, if you would like more of that, let us know in the Discords. And
yeah, if you want to see us getting back to the campaign next week, you can follow us at twitch.tv/MrCroden, which shouldn't be too hard because you're probably here.
And if you're not, you're on YouTube, in which case, go to the description, in which case I have linked it. And if you're at Twitch and you would like to see the YouTube, it is youtube.com/MrCroden.
Yeah, coming next week on Wednesday at 7 p.m., we're going to be starting up a new campaign arc. I'm going to open it with a recap, so if you have no idea what's going on, it should be a perfect time to jump on in. And I think that's all we got.
Yep, next stream is going to be Friday, where I play games with friends, and I don't know what I'm playing yet, because we haven't decided it yet.
True.
And that's about it.
Terror. Oh, it's going to be one of the bad ones, isn't it, then?
I'm trying to convince them to play Minecraft. It's going to be bad. So yeah, feel free to tune in for that. It should be shenanigans. It should be great. It should be memes. And that should be it. So thank you everyone for showing up, and we will see you guys next time.
Get out of our house.